We don't focus on how much fun we could have in this industry. And that technology should be an asset to you, not a burden, and it should not be a crutch. It's just an extra thing to help you get done. And if we humanize this process, it makes it all worth it. The learning the skill sets, whether it's AI or social media marketing or Canva or whatever it is, if I start with my humanity and my creativity and then add the tool, I get much further along in my career than anywhere else. So have fun, be human, and be creative.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today I have another amazing experienced and knowledgeable real estate influencer to share with you. He's a facilitator at this week's RE Bar Camp One Coast here in St. Augustine. He is an executive vice president with Coldwell Banker Elite in Fredericksburg, Virginia, president of the Four Pillars Education that provides training and consulting to the real estate industry. In 2021, he was recognized as Educator of the Year, both by the Real Estate Business Institute and the Fredericksburg Area Association of Realtors. Let's learn more about this dynamic, experienced, and well-spoken real estate influencer, Matthew Rathbun. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming on this morning. As I've been going through many, I unfortunately couldn't get to all of the facilitators, but I really want everyone to know a little bit more about you. And because I think the RE Bar Camp, goal is, to expand, get out of our box. And I'm really excited about this year's RE Bar Camp because Kim's put together a good bunch of facilitators from outside the area, bringing in new ideas.
Yeah, I love bar camp. When Kim reached out to me, I just realized that, it's been a number of years since I've actually been able to jump into one. But I was doing these back in 2006, 7 and 8 when I didn't know what they were, and then we were literally sitting in a bar just talking about what is this social media thing? What should we be doing as real estate agents? And
Right.
made some amazing relationships over the years just from those group of people. So yeah, I was pretty excited to be invited back.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the lineup is. I don't know if there's enough time in the day. I know there isn't. There isn't enough time in the day to really sit and pick the brains of each of you. But hopefully, everyone grabs something from you, and then hopefully follows up with you afterwards because everyone is bringing something a little different angle. Obviously, like you said, social media is number one, and we are doing a lot of talking about it. But I still, in my opinion, feel it's really I wouldn't say untapped, but just barely tapped as far as real estate agents are concerned.
It's significantly, and I have some feeling about blessings and not of AI as it come about, because I think it's going to break down and make it even less authentic. Social media is less authentic because people are looking for quick ways to do it. It is a powerful tool, has been for me for building relationships in a business. It's a powerful tool for some agents. And then there's others who are doing it simply to check the box, right? I need to get content out there, and they're not really engaging and not doing other things. And so our hope is always as instructors to say this is the best for your career. This is the best thing you can do, and to build from our own experiences on it. And so when you're looking at things like bar camp, it is about the technology, but the technology as a tool to build the relationships. And I saw that last graphic that came out with a bunch of us as speakers on there. And there's nothing more imposter syndrome inducing than seeing yourself among some of those really, really great people who are going to be there speaking and sharing. So I'm excited about it.
Excellent. Well, I like to kick off every show just so everyone get a little bit of background on you. Where are you from, Matt?
I am from Fredericksburg, Virginia. I'm currently sitting in Richmond, Virginia, in one of our offices. But yeah, born and raised, stayed in the same county in which I grew up in.
Excellent. You go to, according to your LinkedIn, Germanna Community College. At that time, what are you thinking about as a career? Because I assume it probably wasn't real estate.
No, my path was like most people. We don't really grow up going, I want to be a real estate agent when I grow up, right? We want to be
Mhm.
firefighters and cops and astronauts and dinosaurs. Real estate was never on the scope. I was in the middle of, I started working very young. I started at 14. I got out of school at 16, was taking, classes for emergency services management, which was a thing, believe it or not. And that's what I was doing. I started from volunteering to being a paid fire rescue services, those type of things. And then we started having kids. My wife and I got married young. We've been married for over 30 years now, but we got married young. A couple of years later, from 18, a few years later, we had our first kid. My wife's like, "Hey, we can't live this life anymore." Our marriage wasn't doing great, to be honest with you, and we've been married for a few years at that point. As you do as teens getting married, you start to grow and learn and change. We said, she gave me the ultimatum, and I said, "Okay, cool. At least you care enough to give the ultimatum." We found faith, we found family, and my mother-in-law was a real estate broker at the time, and she's like, "Hey, you're going through this thing." I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what school was going to be for. I was a little half-hearted about school most of that college experience anyways,
Mhm.
and jumped from one thing to another. And I said, "Okay, I'll go do the real estate thing for a short period of time until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up." And that was now 21 years later. I still haven't figured out what I want to be when I grow up. But it took a very short period of time for me to wake up and go, each morning I get up, I get to choose whether I'm going to be the chief executive officer or the chief marketing officer or the agent, or I can control my time. And the money was particularly good. I built a business very quickly out of just engaging people. And I adopted the technology quicker than most. And so by 2003, I had websites, and I had 2006, I had social media, but I had websites up that were getting found because nobody else was doing it. We didn't know what blogging was, but I was writing about everything in town. I had my favorite restaurants. I had, favorite playgrounds and dog parks and library features and things. And I was just building a lot of business that way. And so I just said, this could be me for however long the industry lasts. I don't know if, I don't know what that looks like 20 more years from now in my 70s,
Right.
but for now I love what I'm doing, and I still feel 20 some years later like I get up every morning getting to decide what type of work I want to do, whether it's creative work or productivity or whatever it is. So, yeah, that's kind of a nutshell of my career path here.
Three or four questions just flashed in my head. I'm like, okay, which one should I ask next? you know, well, I'll go with this one here because I think one thing we have a lot. I have a lot of new agents, or at least as when I vision my listeners, are new agents, and always agents who they may be struggling, may think they're struggling, or just hit a lid and they're looking for something new to move them past into the next step. For the newer agents, you were fortunate to have your mom. Was she a good mentor to you? How did that relationship blossom for you when you got your license and showed up at the office?
So I didn't know how deep you wanted to go into that. So first of all, make sure that we're clear. It's my mother-in-law, not my mom, because my
Mother-in-law. I'm
mom's
sorry.
a my mom's
Yeah.
a mess. So my mother-in-law.
Mother.
And my mother-in-law, really encouraged me to do this. My mother-in-law adopted us. My wife has a brother, and then her brother is married, and the two of us are the favorite kids. We joke about this all the time. Like, our mother-in-law likes us more than she likes her own kids sometimes. She'll deny it, but we know it's true. But my mother-in-law really saw an opportunity there, saw what the business could be, and saw that I had a very entrepreneurial heart anyways. But when I got my license, I decided not to join the same company she was with.
Oh,
The company she was with was owned by her mother and father and her sisters and her cousins, and everybody worked there. And I didn't want the family thing. And they were a little bit further out of my market area, anyways. And so I said, "Look, I want to try this on my own, and I want to try to my local market and not go out there." I was helping them on the side, just doing some side with marketing stuff and things. And they understood. She totally understood. But she picked up the phone every time. I went to a small brokerage with no training, no development, no anything. Quite literally, my training day was the broker pointing to a wall of forms, because back then we didn't have them, in a computer. He goes, "Read all over those. Let me know if you have any questions." And so I took the reading and didn't have any questions of him, but would ask her questions all the time. She was very gracious to answer
right.
those. And then years later, I was in a senior position at a large firm. The company she was with was changing hands and not doing well, and I was able to offer her a new office, a new branch. And so then kind of it flipped, and she was calling me for advice, and now we just trade ideas. So
Nice.
yeah, and
Nice.
no, there was no business referral or anything. I literally had to do it from the ground up because she was still active and not too far from the market to take those clients. So it was just really digging in and figure out how to do this.
It sounds like, obviously, to go back to that time and break it down day by day and your struggles as a new agent, as they all do. One question that I always ask, because agents do move from broker to broker,
Yeah.
And some are fortunate enough to walk in with the right one. They get the right mentorship. The leadership is good. They're, cutting edge, and they get off to a great start. Where so many, I feel, as 80% don't renew their license, the first time. They're out of the business within a couple of years. How important it is to dig in if you are looking to get in this business and you don't have your mother-in-law on your speed dial,
Yeah.
to really go out and interview agents at different brokerages. Obviously, you're going to talk to the brokers. They're going to tell you everything's, you both are telling each other lies about each other, about, everything. But they actually sit down with an agent and say, hey, what goes on at your brokerage, and find out, are they doing business the way because you might not know how to do business yet, but that connects with you. How important is it to really do some due diligence before you just sign up under anyone?
Yeah, so let me say, failure is the best trainer I've ever had,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doing the wrong thing is what led me to the right path more often than not. And um, I- it's very challenging right now. And I just did another kind of podcast recently where I was being asked a similar question. And I'm pretty consistent with my answers here. You need to go to the broker who's going to invest in you, not just give you the money in lieu of investment. And what I mean by that is it's very sexy to go to a company that says, we're going to give you 130% of every commission you earn. And, you're going to be truly independent, and to say, okay, what does that mean to me? So I did that. My first company was very small. I went to them because I heard an ad on the radio and it sounded like some of their belief system matched my own. And they were very nice people who had no idea how to run a brokerage and how to train agents. And so I had to go outside. I was traveling all over the coast in my first year taking training because it just wasn't available locally at the time. And I think it's important that when you interview a brokerage and you're looking for somebody to walk alongside you, and everybody will say, I'm an independent, I did this and that. It just isn't true. I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of agents over the years. I've written lots of curriculum for NAR, for CRS, RBI, CRD, and in the course of that interview, people ask their thing, learn about them from training. And when I really deep dig down in there, everybody had somebody that was either a mentor or a role model or exemplified behavior you never wanted to see again. And that itself was a training. It doesn't matter what signs on the door. I don't care what broker, what franchise it is, or independent or boutique. It's about the heart of the broker there to be a real leader, to invest in you, to provide training. Right now we are in the cusp of an incredibly transformative part of our industry on multiple fronts. AI is going to be a much bigger impact than anybody thinks or anticipated it was. I mean, I really been pondering that. And of course, with the commission changes and compensation and all these rules, your broker can all day long say, we have a training program here. We have all the technology you want here. But if they don't show you how to use the technology to build a business and have work-life balance, it's not going to be great. That broker's got to be more than just some programs they've set up. They need to be walking you through how your financials are in order. How is your family life? Because I'm going to say this with all sincerity. If your personal life isn't aligned, you will never find success in business. You will be frustrated and burned out very, very quickly, and everything will be a heightened amount of stress. And so that broker should be looking out for how to help you with productivity and a good work-life balance, educating you on contracts forms and how to care for a consumer and the consumer first, and having something there. So if I go to talk to you about joining your brokerage, I should be asking for a copy of your mentoring program and your training program over the next 12 months. And if you just go, hey, we just put it together, that's not good enough, especially in your first 4 or 5 years. You need something. It's knowledge work, right? That's what they hired us for. We're knowledge workers. And so somebody needs to be taking care of making sure you're taking, and of that, by the way, just to get to the next question, but of that 80% who get out of the business, it is amazing how many of them are not just new agents. It's experienced agents who are now upside down in their taxes because they didn't pay them. They haven't treated their business like a financial institution or a business institution would. They're spending every dollar that comes in as fast as they can make it, instead of saying, I got to get a portion to taxes and to charity and to investing in my business, and whatever's left I get to spend on running my household. And so there's a lot more to it than just who has the best tech stack and who has the biggest company. It's about who has the time to invest in you and teach you to be your own entrepreneur and your own CEO.
I think you said it earlier, like the social media, just, oh yeah, I do. So I posted checking off that some brokers Hey, I got this great tech stack. I've got the latest and greatest this, that, and the other thing, and they check it off. But the reality is, too many, and I see it even on our side on the mortgage side, I think it's sales in general. They're not mastering the CRM, which personally I believe if you're large enough, you should have a marketing department that actually makes that work, because that is such a tool that with so many facets to it. It can do so many things at any one time, and set up that they're actually spending time with each and every real estate agent or loan officer or whatever, and going, okay, what kind of market, and set up those things. Because as a loan officer or a real estate agent, you can spend weeks and weeks learning everything that CRM does. But what you actually use is kind of like our brain. We only use like 8% of it, or whatever the number is. I really feel, lot of these, if they're selling you the tech stack, my question would be, okay, so how are you training on it so I know how to use it? It may be all this great things, but are you actually utilizing it is another thing. This is one of personal statement. Artificial intelligence. You made a semi-bold statement there. You feel it's going to impact our business. Everyone I've spoken to, obviously AI, really didn't come on the radar screen for me until I had Marky Lemons on a year ago, and she told me about Chat GPT, and she had just learned about it weeks earlier, and she's going around the country teaching about that. Give me what's your opinion, how it's going to affect the real estate industry?
Well, we've got a few hours, so we'll be fine. We'll get this done. Marky's great, by the way. She and I have talked about this quite a bit, and she's killing it out there. I mean, she's a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
And she's definitely on top of this AI stuff. A lot of my lecture now has been asked about AI, and I have to be, when I'm asked to teach it, I'm like, okay, but you got to tell me where your audience is, because basically I'm staying much more on the practical side of it, the entry level side of it, because that's where most people are.
Mm-hmm.
If we go to where it's going, if we start paying attention where it's going, it's largely impactful. And I've always, look, if you can't humanize it, it should be part of your business, right? And so AI, I treat like a unlicensed personal assistant whose work I have to double check before the light of day, before anybody else sees it. But it is growing so exponentially that is now in part of what we do. So we're using Switcher Studio for this. I'm using Ecamm as a filter. We use Zoom a lot in what we do. Zoom has features now that are part of their, if you have paid Zoom, it's already part of the factor there, that can let you know when someone mentions your name. If you walk away, and give you a summary of that, you can do an end of meeting summary with action items of what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly powerful, and people aren't rating it. People like me who are instructors who do a lot of virtual stuff should really be paying attention to the next iteration is going to tell you which learner is engaged or disengaged in what you're saying, and who's not paying attention, whose eyes have shifted. It's a very, very powerful thing.
Yeah.
For an agent, we are seeing AI make Google look antiquated. In other words, people are going to go to AI to say, give me recommendations for things, as opposed to going to Google where they used to look. And for real estate agents, where we have been years trying to say, please do good SEO content in your blog post, please do good social media, make the right hashtags work, make sure you're doing video, because that's what the algorithms want. We were doing all this stuff. We are just months to a year away from a consumer going, dear Chat GPT, I need you to recommend an agent who is doing business in this region, who has a good track record with equestrian farms, who seems to be knowledgeable in these types of things. And ChatGPT is going to be using an AI model to go search for that content about that person and recommend them, as opposed to the focus we've had over the past 20 years of, or we'll say 15 years especially, of rank well in Google, right? And then everybody out there. And that's just one small facet of what's going on there. When we're looking at graphic design, when we're looking at marketing stuff, it is a equalizing tool. When you learn how to do the prompts well, you don't have to be good at graphic design. You can go to Canva, use Magic, and create something. You can get listing agreements. Your productivity starts to shift. Your accountability starts to shift to be more augmented when you're properly using the tools. Whether it was social media, whether it was whatever technology came out there, I've always been, hey, there's a place for every agent. You may be analog as anything, but you still had a client base. By the nature of where technology goes, AI is going, and who we are as an industry, the agents who are utilizing AI are going to greatly outpace those without. If for no other reason, then I'm going to have automated services setting up my showing schedule, responding to consumers, generating marketing content. You mentioned the CRM. I just wanted to touch base on that for a second.
Yeah.
CRM is a database that should be utilized to help you humanize your relationship with your consumer, right? Because otherwise, that's all it is. Automated emails aren't going to be very effective, and they're just a package of 6 things get your house ready to sell. Doesn't connect with the consumer because they're finding that data everywhere, and they're going to start migrating to Dear ChatGPT or Duet or whatever. Recommend things I need to get ready for my house in this market to get it ready. What's the most appealing aspects to a buyer about my home? Those are questions they used to ask us, right? And they still do ask us,
Right.
but they are going to go get very curated content for their specific situation as opposed to having to make it work. Now, the good part of all of this is with the proliferation of AI and all this content and stuff that's out there, the consumer is going to say, there's so much junk. I need a human to sort through it for me and tell me, do you
Bottom
align
line. Give me the
with,
bottom line.
yeah, do you
Yeah.
align with what AI is telling me at whatever level? And so there's so much out there. There's so many aspects of this that are going to be impacting and changing us, but making us more efficient when properly used and executed. It's going to be integrated, if it's not already for you, in Google Workspace and then Microsoft Copilot. I mean, I'm just looking at things right now and I won't mention any tools right now because I haven't vetted all of them yet, but I'm looking at one that the chat bot on my website that quite frankly answers questions quite well. And most of them the same way I would answer them, to all lead to getting an appointment. That means I don't have to hire an assistant, which means I can take that money to go invest in more marketing and content creation and other things like vacations
Right.
that I couldn't, these tools we're in months to a year of some of them being able to handle your business for a week well enough to let you have time for a break that we've never had that ability before. And unfortunately, so many brokers now who we should be trusting to lead us and train us as agents have got their head in the sand because this stuff didn't exist when they were practicing agent. They're having a hard time transitioning to it or bringing in the right speakers for it. And everybody's an AI speaker now. And it's really hard to tell who really knows what they're talking about and who doesn't until you get your hands on it. So sorry, that was a very long explanation as to what I was saying, but I truly feel this and the changes of MLS policies, Department of Justice action, some of these civil suits, all of this is going to be creating a very different real estate industry in the next 5 years.
You're an agent listening to this right now. Maybe they're just, doing some, regular posting or whatever, what little social media they're doing. They're hearing of the AI. They've maybe gone on and done a listing description using it just on the basic levels. They need not to be overwhelmed. In my opinion, I'm going to give my opinion and see if you agree with me.
Sure.
Because it's so cutting edge. I mean, social media has been around for a decade, but it's constantly adding, changing, getting better. Don't be afraid of the AI, but would you agree? I think, to attack it and work on one thing and more or less master it, like, maybe your graphic arts, right? Go use Canvas, use an AI and do that. And then, spend a few weeks on, hey, I'm pretty good at this using the AI here, and then move to the next thing, because you're not behind the 8 ball. It's just you want to start your journey like anyone going to run a marathon. They start with their the first mile first, right? And chip away at this. And if you're constantly moving forward, you're actually probably ahead of the curve.
Yeah, 100%. And you got to start somewhere. The ability to sit back and see where things go has passed. It's not a business tactic. It's to sit back and wait till it's easy or whatever. And it's easy. It's easy now. A lot of agents, the immediate response I get to AI is, how do you find time to learn all of this? Well, ChatGPT is like having a conversation. And you mentioned listing description. Prompt engineering isn't a career, it's a skill set, right? And so learning how to interact with the AI is just like when most people took their real estate licensing class, the words you thought you knew the meaning of are different when you start taking the legal aspects of real estate. And so you're essentially learning a new language, but you had a basis for it, right? And so ChatGPT is easier than social media, to be honest with you, because or AI in general, whatever tool you're using. Because if I go to ChatGPT and go, hey, I've got a listing. Here are the major benefits of this listing that I found, just a bullet point. Could you please create an SEO friendly listing description without violating fair housing, written at 8th grade reading level? And poof, it creates it. And people stop there. But it's a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Dear AI, thank you for creating this. Now, can you create a marketing campaign for the next 60 days of how to best market this property? And what you're doing is you are asking the totality of all the knowledge we have about marketing that's ever existed, because it's all been digitized into the system, to give you a marketing campaign, instead of me sitting down going, oh my gosh, what kind of buyers are out there for this? And how do I reach them? And what's the best efficacy of these things? Now, ChatGPT or AI in general is never going to say, go do door knocking, go do open houses, because the statistical probability of conversion is so low is that they would not be recommended by any true marketing entity outside of just real estate agents following their own path.
Right.
And so that's where where I see breakage with agents is that it breaks apart what they thought to be true or what they've done in the business. And now there's a system that's, again, to totality, of every marketing expert ever published, saying that's not how you do it. And so I just want to have a conversation with ChatGPT as if it's a marketing specialist. Please write the listing description. Please give me a 60-day marketing campaign. Please draft an email. And this is all in the same channel. It's just a conversation. Great. Thank you for doing that. Now, can you build a social media campaign for posting about this property, complete with emojis and hashtags and things that will get people's attention on these 4 platforms? It's very much common sense. It's just and ChatGPT and Google Bard are incredibly forgiving. You don't have to worry about grammar. They'll figure it out. You don't have to worry about capitalization, spelling, commas. You can just, in most cases, now say it. And I think that's where people get the breakdown is, I'm like, they see it's a new tool they have no idea how to use, and it looks so simple. It's just a line. But it generates stuff on you having a conversation and continue that conversation. It learns and grows with you. So, I mean, that's what I would say is just have a conversation with it, play with it. When you're looking at adoption of tools, one of the biggest barriers is agents going, oh my gosh, where do I have the time for this? And it's because, again, you haven't structured your business as a CEO or a productive person was. What's the cost of your time? A lot of agents are, and quite frankly, this is not all agents, but this is a lot of agents. They're getting up at whatever time they have to get up to get the kids off to school, or to, catch morning news and make a cup of coffee. 10 o'clock, they sit down at their computer. Things that would never be acceptable if you worked for somebody else, we allow ourselves to do. And so then we do about 4 or 5 hours work. We are totally engrossed in that one home inspection issue that's coming on today, because that's our big fire. No, when reality is there's only so much you can do with that. And then we go do a little other work that's very responsive to what's coming in. And then about 6 o'clock, we make dinner, we have dinner, we put the kids to bed, or we get done with their home school work, we walk the dog, or take the trash out. And then 10 o'clock, we sit down and go, now it's time to learn. And your brain is fried from the whole day. Instead of saying, I am going to invest 20 minutes a day learning this skill set, just how to engage with ChatGPT to get the best results, because it'll save me hours of work next month if I spend minutes of work learning how to use it today. And it's got to be a structured business like any other business. You hold yourself accountable as if you were your own boss. That's what being a CEO means.
Well, I want to turn it now because I went on your YouTube page, which is just Matthew Rathbun at YouTube, whatever just search Matthew's name, Tech Insight and Growth for Real Estate. And I broke it down. We've dabbled in actually each of these areas right now. And so I was going to finish with tech because that's always the popular one, but so we're kind of in what we're talking about is all part of that insight, growth, and then obviously using the technology. And your site's a perfect example of what's out there, what so many others have provided. The one that caught my eye that I want to go back and watch when I was just, combing through your different videos was using ChatGPT to create a PowerPoint, so I, as a loan officer, go in and do a lunch and learn. I can, but you have taken some time and done short videos, whether just a couple of minutes to whatever, just a short period of time on particular topics, which I imagine you've gone out and researched. You're like, okay, I'm good about it. I'm going to go and now share this with others, because that's you're an educator, you're a trainer, you're giving back to others. And now you're becoming a resource all in the same thing. So you're learning it so you could use it. You're sharing it with others, and now you become a resource for many different people, other agents. It doesn't even have to be a real estate agent. It could be someone, well, anywhere in the world can get to your YouTube page. But you become a resource because you're sharing some of these things that you're working on in utilizing YouTube. And I want to talk about YouTube because I think it's the most underutilized platform. I don't necessarily call it social media, but it does have its own shorts. But YouTube is so underutilized by agents in becoming that resource like you have with your library of short videos.
There's nothing that's going to reach consumers, whatever your job is, better than video. We are viewers, we're not readers anymore. And my YouTube channel it's something I've known for years, and I've built other people's content for them for a long time. And so I started just honestly, there's videos on there from 9 years ago, but I've only started taking it seriously maybe in the past year because I was doing so much of live training and live teaching. And I realized, and this is not great for being a designation instructor or tech instructor or traveling instructor. But what I realized, most of us want right now learning in bite size. We only want to know what we need to know right now, and we want it right now. We don't want to wait 3 months for the next SRS or ABR class to come up. Now, those things have incredible value to be saturated for 1 or 2 days in a knowledge base of incredibly talented instructors and writers for that content. There's a lot of value there. But when I'm sitting at home going, there's got to be a better way to write listing descriptions because I have writer's block and I've got to get this in MLS tomorrow. And you start going, I've heard about this AI thing. Let me go search it out and do a Google search on it. That's what agents need to know. And this sounds so self-aggrandizing, like something you would script or expect to say, but I teach because people invested in me and I want to invest in others and I want a better career for other people. Because if you were asked me, I'm a broker, and when I'm recruiting, everybody gets a fair chance, and there's some amazing agents out there, but the most amazing careers I've seen have come from that person who had no other job option and needed to succeed. And those are my favorite people to recruit. But those folks don't have necessarily knowledgeable brokers or trainers in their area or time to go to class or the money to go to class. And I want to provide information for them as well. And so the YouTube did that. Now, it's not all. Matter of fact, I get emails frequently from people going, I am not a real estate agent, but I wanted to thank you for this video on how to use Trello to organize my life, because people are looking for answers out there. This weekend, I posted a video about my new smart home security system I installed in that house.
Yeah.
And I immediately got an email from someone going, I was just looking for something that works within the Apple HomeKit system inherently in that system as opposed to third-party stuff. And I'm reaching them too. As a real estate agent, my blogs about how to get a fishing license in the Commonwealth of Virginia, the best museums in DC, what the library offered kids during COVID when nobody was going anywhere. Our library had so many free online tools and one-on-one in-person Zoom trainers or educators, whatever, volunteering their time to help kids who are struggling because of the COVID issue that nobody knew about. That's what builds client bases for us. The video is the easiest way to tell that story. Google owns YouTube, so they index it very highly in results. People want, maybe not you, but for me, I look at something and go, if it's longer than 6 minutes, it's like, oh God, I don't know if I can do this. I have to take a break because our attention span is so short. Mm-hmm. But when you look at homes.com is really just flying through the ranks as a lead generation tool and as a consumer facing tool, they are prizing video over things. They will boost. I just talked to them. They're going to boost your profile if you have a video attached. Zillow has said that they get 104 times more engagement on listings that have a walkthrough video through their Premier app that's free. Realtor.com has said there is significant evidence that consumers will look at listings with videos before without. Other outside sources who monitor consumer engagement say consumers are now Googling or going to YouTube first, not Google, YouTube first to find out about community information and homes for sale in neighborhoods. It's very, very obvious, statistically speaking, and every marketer I've ever talked to is going to tell you video is a requirement and you must have within your industry. Yet the agents you talk to go, I don't like being on video. Well, look, let me just say this to your audience. Take your phone, record yourself, and play it back. That's what you're subjecting the world to every day, right? They're going to hear your voice. They're going to see your face. None of us look like we did when we were 20. And they want, there's something about even, this is a little bit of a tangent and I'll wrap this one up, but if you're my seller and we're going over home inspection addendum, I don't just forward that to you by email or text. Let's meet in person or let's get on Zoom. They need to hear the warmth of my voice, the sincerity. They need to see the confidence in my face. This is the same thing with my marketing content. You can do written word all day long, but without the voice, it's not the same. If you've ever read a good book and then watched a movie, you're always going to default to the book being better because you created an entity and a voice and a structure in your mind that is broken by watching it on TV.
Right.
Now, I don't want to write and only write. It's good for SEO, but they need to hear my voice. They need to see my sincerity, my confidence, my excitement about whatever I'm talking about. And that sells me much more quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking to agents, your episode 171, I think, so I've well and, near 160 of them were agents.
How did you get to
And
170 people before me?
I've had but they're getting better. I could tell you that. And, just my journey from podcasting, obviously the first one wasn't videoed, but my ums and ahs and so forth. And I still critique myself because I do, as soon as the episode comes out on Apple, I'm listening to it in the car, and I'll listen to it back and forth from work until I listen to the whole thing and critique myself and improve. Sure. There's a journey, and you have to start the journey. And I came across a lady over in Orlando. She has got a great Instagram page filled with short reels, about every subject you can think about, selecting a lender to anything having to do with real estate. And what she did is she has she set up like she's doing a podcast, but she isn't talking to anyone. I could tell because I've looked for any long form video on, there's nothing that I could see. She just puts a mic in for kind of like I have here. And she looks in there and asks as if someone, you and I are having this conversation. And so I've turned it on the agents, and I started doing what I call 30-minute market updates with them, just whether they want to come in or go virtual. And we just talk about them talking about real estate. But to take it to the next level is something I've been envisioning. To just create the short-term video, put a question up in front of you. If you want to put someone over there that no one can see on camera that asked you the question, so you answer it back as if you're having a conversation, and you've got yourself a short-term reel, and you can do 4 or 5 in probably 20 minutes. And there's people who edit it and fancy it up for you if you don't want to do it yourself for not that much. And you have 4 or 5 reels of you talking about real estate and giving the tips like you have on your YouTube page very, very easily. And you can look as good as you want to look. But I think you're right. A lot of people don't like what they hear, don't like what you see, but that's what everyone else hears and sees as well. And we're our worst critic. So you just got to do it, right? Like Nike says.
Yeah. And the one thing I think is important to also remember is consumers tend to connect with real and what we call dirty video much better than hyper polished video, right? And if you look at TikTok, for example, these are kids, they have no money. They've got maybe $100 light. And Ali Abal is my favorite YouTuber ever. He's a big productivity guy. He was a doctor who quit being a doctor to go do this. And you were talking about my YouTube channel. Most of that stuff is I just learned it and I'm excited, so I want to teach others. So we're learning together.
Yep.
And that's what he did. And his videos are horrible in the beginning, but yet he is one of the biggest names in YouTube right now because we learned and we grow. And finally he found somebody who could, edit for him and do some other stuff. And he teaches a whole academy about it. With CapCut, for example, especially now that it's a desktop version, it is easier than ever to take your phone. This is your whole recording studio, this CapCut and maybe a good microphone or just good lighting to record and post and just post and post and post. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it is. And you have to also know where your channel is. I am not good at 1-minute videos. I'm just not good at it. I'm trying, I'm learning. It's always 1 minute and 4 seconds. So YouTube kicks out that short and it doesn't work. I'm not good at it. It's a skill set I've had to learn to be more succinct. But people will watch. And sometimes I have one video in particular, 4 years after I posted it, it got popular. But that means there's no shelf life. And so if you're doing a newsletter, you're doing postcards, those things die the second somebody puts their hand on it and they barely read it or scanned it. But when they need to know something and they do a search, that video forever, that blog post is forever until you take it down. And it's just knowing where your channel is. I'm not a big TikTok guy. And the reason is I'm not a young person in my 20s who can dance. I'm not particularly, witty enough in 60-second blocks, but YouTube works for me and tutorials work for me. So it's really knowing where your channel is.
Well, the what I've been using now, because the amount of content between doing 2 full, podcasts a week like this, and then throwing in a couple 30-minute market updates, and then another friend of mine is a loan officer. We do a mortgage athlete 30-minute thing. Opus Pro, there's others. That's the one I'm using. You just upload that, and you could. I make it easy because I'm already streaming to YouTube. I take the YouTube link, stick it in there. It'll go, and it'll, in a 30-minute, and it's using AI, in a 30-minute conversation, it'll cut me 20, 25 reels. Now, not every one is really good. It'll start off with the best ones, what it thinks will be the highest, gives the greatest impact, all those things that they're looking for in short form content.
Yeah.
It'll rate them from the start to the finish. But there's some, and puts in an arrow, put some emojis in there and so forth. You can go and add more if you want to. You can go and trim it a little bit. You simply go in and it has the script for it, and you can go, no, take out that word or take out this sentence, and it'll shorten the video accordingly. Yeah. And so from the simplest standpoint, you're not even in there moving the cursor back and forth and trimming the video. It'll do it by you just trimming the transcript, and boom, you have, I could take a 30-minute video and have 10 reels of an agent saying something profound, and then I'm obviously sharing it and putting it across, whether it's all platforms. I take that same reel, I'm using it on LinkedIn, I'm using everything I do always goes into YouTube, whether it's short and long form, and Instagram, and I do throw a bunch on TikTok just to see where it goes. It only takes a second to upload it and put it in there and move on, because I'm taking that same reel all across all platforms.
Yeah.
So I'm not recreating the wheel for every platform.
There's a number of AI tools that'll do just that for you, where they will go and they'll create down what they think is the most valuable piece of content and then recommend it, and you can do it. Again, I won't recommend a whole bunch of them because some of them I'm still testing out, and I'm not, sold on any one yet. But the other thing that, for agents to think about is an off camera, like you mentioned the gal who's doing the off camera interviews, a single person off camera interview, which is a whole technique. It's very effective, and it breaks down your anxiety if you think you're just answering questions or you've written them down. Like I have a whiteboard on the other side of the camera for some of those things. And then you can transition your eye line of sight from where that whiteboard is as if you're being interviewed to the camera, and it's all of a sudden it's the same thing, but it just takes a while to warm up. There's also just not being on camera. And so, for example, I tend to use video of myself on some of my tutorials because I think it brings a little bit of depth to it, but you don't have to. Most people are there for the content. But one of the ones I did recently was how to use Trello to manage home inspection repairs. And I put a link there that I recorded that video, and I send it to my sellers like, hey, this is where we are in a home inspection, because I said all that stuff all the time, right? I'm using a tool called Trello to help you and I monitor the repairs together. Here's a 3-minute explanation of how it works, and you're going to get a link with it. And so those videos become tutorials for my clients and my consumers to watch as well. Market updates you can do in NAR, RPR. You can go in there, and I have a video on my website how to do it. You can go get video scripts. You can now go put that into AI. It'll create its own video without you having to be on it, explaining what you feel passionate about, what you want for content, and you don't have to worry about editing. And those tools are very inexpensive and out there. InVideo.io is one of the examples that I think it's very easy just to go copy and text. It creates your video for you, and now you can post it on your website and not worry about editing and lighting and stuttering and stammering. And there's tools to get rid of that too, but that gets a little beyond this. But just keep it simple, post some stuff. I'm not really, there's a lot of stuff I post. It's just something I did three years ago, just short years ago. And I went and looked at the quality at it because I was going to send it to somebody. I was like, oh gosh,
I got to redo that one.
Yeah, I got to redo this one. But I think if most people were watching that, they go, this is really good, but it's not good to my standard because now I've invested a lot of money and time in learning how to do it better and using the right editing thing. So anyway, I'm sorry that,
No, it's there. And the technology, and I had a friend of mine, he's a videographer, and I had him on several shows ago, probably a month or so. It's getting to the point where he's actually offering a service where he'll videotape you it says it takes you want to like have a conversation for an hour, and the AI will pick up on your mannerisms, how you speak, and so forth. And then he can from there simply take a script, upload it, and have you speaking
That's right.
through AI, and it's not really you. And he actually showed me an example, and of what he did. He posted it on Facebook, kind of telling people about it. And only his mother was really the first person that, is that really you? You know, that's how good it was. And obviously we know it's getting better every moment. It's crazy. Insight growth in tech, because I think this is, like you said, something on your YouTube, which I think is important. We talked about a lot of it. I want to dabble. I'm going to go through kind of do kind of rapid fire questions because they're just from time and so forth. But we talked a little bit about pre-agents, people just getting into the business, technology changing, what brokerage they should utilize. Where should someone be reaching out to, if they're thinking about getting in this business? Or, in your case, you had your mother-in-law who wasn't local. They're recommending to you. Who should be, what would be the first step you would recommend for them to start talking to some people about real estate and what it's really like?
Yeah. This goes both ways. Like, you see a lot of people pontificating on social media about their real estate careers, and most of it's fairly cynical. And honestly, I don't think it's a very good reflection of the industry, what a lot of agents do put on social. I think that should stop, but I will never win that battle, I don't think. But I think you need to find someone who resonates with you. So if you're thinking about getting in the business and you go and look up real estate agency area and you see a video of an agent who, you feel like is somebody like you, call them up and go, can I take you to lunch and ask what this career is really like? Don't ask a broker because you don't know what your answer you're going to get. And I will say this as a broker, I have about 250 agents in our company right now. And when you ask me, what is it like to be an agent? I will think about the last one I met with in a mentoring meeting. That may not be the totality of everybody, but they're killing it and they're very organized and they're doing great and they love this career and they love people. And I go, man, that's who you should aspire to be. But you need to ask an agent who resonates with you first, about it. And then there are, you need a broker who's willing to do the mercy kill. You need to talk to somebody who's going to be honest with you and go, maybe this isn't for you, because it's not for everybody.
Right.
1.5 million realtors, 49% of them did no transactions last year. I mean, that's a lot. That's pretty substantial.
Right.
And then you need to talk to somebody when you do, you need to interview multiple brokers, not the one you just feel more comfortable with, not the one that just gives you the most amount of money, but the one who you can see vision and planning for and say, look, what would you tell me as a new agent and how would you get me started? And don't just tell me you have training and resources and brush me off. What's the plan? And I think that's a big one, is asking him for a plan and interviewing multiple companies. And then once you like the broker, ask for 3 names in the company they can talk to that the broker isn't related to, that have been there for less than 3 years.
I don't want me to cut you off because it's going to spin into my next question in that same, and I put this under your insight. That it might not be what you mean, but my insight, what I think of insight. What about current agents who are, you feel like they're stalling right now? They're maybe hit a lid with the broker where they're at.
Yeah. A broker can't take you to the next level if they're not there. If the broker's not using video, if the broker's not using AI, it doesn't matter how good how well they speak about how good they speak. English major, how well they speak about these things, but if they're not actively using it, they are not going to be able to demonstrate it to you, and you're not going to be able to emulate them. And if we use whether it's for recruiting or whatever. But if you feel like you're stalling, you need a coach or a mentor. We all do. Everybody in every stage of life, no matter how smart or competent you are, you need someone to hold you accountable and someone to be a mentor. If you're looking at brokerage levels, the other part of that is, are you productive in keeping yourself accountable? I have to be the chief marketing officer of my brand. And that means I have to dedicate time to it. So if you're looking in this camera lens or you're looking in a mirror and you're looking at yourself and you go, if I were the CEO and I had me as the chief marketing officer for our brand, would I keep me on staff? And either you train yourself to do that and you schedule yourself to do that every day to be the chief marketing officer, or you need to pay somebody else to do it in your behalf. One or the two, but you have to be a chief marketing officer. It is not a negotiable skill set.
Right.
So that's where I think if you're stalling, get a good mentor and hold yourself accountable to be a good chief marketing officer.
Under the subject of growth, what should And I imagine this has changed over the decades that you've been in the business, because like I said, technology now, how much time we're spending on that versus 15 years ago, you weren't talking about Instagram, let alone Facebook. But what should agents be doing regularly in under the topic of growth right now?
Whatever your thing is, whether it's meditating or prayer or whether it's counseling or stuff, the mental health impact of being the counselor for other people, to work with them every day, to deal with their stresses, their anxieties, their fears, and not take care of those things for yourself, are going to shorten your career, and they're just getting more demanding. We're in a very unusual, not unusual, new era, I guess, of high stress, high anxiety in our culture beyond what we've ever seen. And a lot of agents are foregoing their own mental health, whether it's investing in your faith or your family or counseling. There's nothing shameful about getting a therapist or a counselor to help you deal with not only your own issues, but those people who you're acting as that on behalf of. And the next thing is, watch your finances. The some of the best careers I've ever seen went down in flames because they didn't know how to manage their own money or live within their own means, and they were trying so hard to emulate top producers and buying or releasing the big cars or whatever else. I think regardless what the interest rates do, regardless what production does, the next several years is going to be a settling position and a challenging position financially as we learn to live with less. We're going to be getting paid less for the work we've done proportionally the way we have. I truly believe that in my soul. And you've got to start to adjust to that and run your house, just like I talked about the chief marketing officer in your last question, chief financial officer in this one. Because if you are struggling financially through the winter months, or you don't have any savings, and your spouses or partner is like, why are you even doing this? We have no money, and you're gone 7 days a week, you're not going to be able to focus on making a good career. And so financialwellness.realtor is a free tool from it that will help you on that path. And they are now offers a mental health aspect. There's a link on my website for both of those things under the resources that NAR is offering, plus your brokers and your family, friends, your churches, or whomever. Take care of your own mental health, focus on your family, focus on your finances. Remember, this career, those client relationships are the time you're working with them. Your own mental health and your family's relationship with you is forever. And don't forgo
How
those.
awesome points there, which leads me, you're going into counseling. I had coaching, and I obviously had Jake Dixon with the locker room on the start this. He's going to be there on Friday at the RE Bar Camp. But obviously, there's many coaches out there. What is your opinion on, if you've got the resources and can afford a coach, and you want to really be more efficient, or sometimes it's just accountability, your overall opinion on finding a coach, or you might have some that you recommend that have been successful, but finding that confidant, that person you can talk business with, that's that we label a coach.
Yeah. So there's got to be a little bit of everything here. And so there's a lot of national coaching services, and people swear by them while they're in the program because the programs do great to make them feel comfortable where they are, build a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
question them a little bit, hold accountable, celebrate them a lot. And that generates this whole thing. I've never understood why agents would align themselves with a broker where the broker themselves was not a coach or mentor and competent in doing that. But it is the nature of the business we're in that not every broker is, unfortunately. I think coaching and mentoring is for all aspects and for the rest of your life. I have people that sometimes didn't know they were my coach because I was calling and questioning things or hanging out with them. We are truly the sum total of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. And so you need to be intentional about finding those 5 people to hold you accountable, who are performing as you would and who are living a life you would. And then you need someone who's a little bit separated from that, who can speak truths into your life without worrying about you firing them, if possible, or who really want the best for you. And so these national coaches, some of them haven't produced for a long time. Some of them have never been in your marketplace. And so they tell you to go do things that may not be appropriate for where you are working in. And so there's got to be a marriage. Even if you're doing national coaching, you still need to have local mentors to tell you whether the ideas you're generating from your accountability coach, who could be somebody you're paying for, will align with the reality of your marketing place. And you don't want some curmudgeon, burnout who's, I've been doing this for 30 years. You want somebody who's truly plugged in. And that generally is going to be somebody in, your company or your broker or somebody else in the area who could do that. So there's a little bit of everything. It can't just be one thing. And I'm just very, very saddened, if you will, that we don't have more people mentoring and coaching in our industry at a local level. I really wish there were more brokers invested in their own skill set in doing that, but there's not. So
that brings up it was something I was thinking about this weekend. Sometimes the local people, especially if you're, I would say, popular or just well known, know you locally, almost like your family. Like they know some of your pains, right? They know what things that you've gone through and struggled to get through. But if you go to a different market and want to share your experience, you just want to take it all in. So I think that might be a challenge. But I'm going to go back. I obviously have never worked for Kim Knapp before, but I've never heard anybody say anything negative about her, and she's been continued to be a leader. And I think one reason why she is successful at the level that she is because how involved she is, such as like organizing the RE Bar Camp. Obviously, all of you coming know her. She knows you guys in some level. You've met at a NAR conference or whatever, and she's connected and she's staying in front as much as you can stay in front of this business.
If you ever hear anybody say anything bad about Kim Knapp, just send me a name and number. We'll take care of it. Look, people are not normally accepted in their own market, right? I mean, I have good people who come to my classes all the time in my local association. I'm on the board of directors of my local association. I have friends and brokers who call about things like that. But if you're looking acceptance to be the expert in your own company or broker where you grew up, where they knew you, you're probably not going to get it. We say 50 miles makes you an expert, and even Jesus wasn't accepted in his own hometown. I'm not going to do better than Jesus, right? Again, we have these people who, like I said earlier, that I have that were mentoring me who didn't know it because I watched everything they did. I have a brand new kitten in the house. She follows the old cat around everywhere, and we've watched just in the past 3 weeks her start to emulate specifically the actions of that cat. I think we as humans are designed to do that, which is why it's careful to who to surround yourself with. But don't ignore the talent in your own marketplace or even your own brokerage. And as a broker, I'll teach all the things to my own agents that I teach outside, and outside I get all these emails and accolades and good reviews. And for my own agents, they'll come back a month later and going, we just heard the speaker and they were killer. And it's somebody like that's using my material that I wrote for them, or somebody saying the exact same thing I did. And I don't get offended by that anymore because at least it's getting through to them, whether it's local or not. But don't dismiss wisdom in any form. It can be from your parents. It can be from, again, a friend who's well-meaning or something. And sometimes we learn to ignore it because they're not, it's not good for us. And sometimes we embrace it, but we've got to pay attention to what people around us are saying and doing. And I think that really helps. It's not just one person or thing.
I'm going to finish with this last question, and I'm just going to share with what you want to bring, the message you want to get across on Friday. How important is it for agents to, sometimes get up to that 30,000 foot level and see everything that's going on nationally? Attend a NAR, not necessarily every year, but occasionally attend a NAR conference, or this week, Florida Realtors has got I would get corrected when I say Realtors. It's Realtors. They're having their conference, but to get out and expand your horizon of the business occasionally to see what's going on, because sometimes we can put our head down and be so engulfed in our own transactions, let alone the transaction or things that are going on in the local area. But occasionally you got to step out and take a higher level look and go to some of these bigger conferences in exchange of what's going on nationally in real estate.
Yeah, we've gotten into a very dangerous place in our industry where people are getting feedback from other real estate agents on Facebook groups that have no idea who that agent is, the marketplace, their tools, resources, whatever. And oftentimes, let me just say this about that. These major online Facebook groups and things are the next feeding ground for antitrust lawsuits. And some of the comments and things that are there, and some just untrue statements that are repeatedly stated in there as truths about how to do marketing and who to work with and who to trust and what company to use or not use. And when you really boil it down, you start looking at some of those people who are very vocal and giving lots of advice, and they've got no production. Like, who are you to give advice about, especially online lead generation, my favorite, where somebody has very strong opinions about not using company X, Y, or Z, And then you go look up their production on any number of places, and they've got $1 million and an average sales price of 500,000 in a marketplace. Well, that's why they have time to give advice on Facebook. So anyway, so I think, getting out in front of people and hearing a variety of opinions, and not just the echo chamber of what we used to call RE-net, the real estate people who are on social media, going to things like RE bar camp or conferences, the best information I've ever got, period, almost never comes from a stage. It always comes from having a drink at the bar with somebody who's actually doing it. That's where I get my ideas. It's where I've been able to expand things. I get to say, well, what is my version of that? What is that? This person's successful, even though they're not maybe a good public speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that understanding I'm the person often talking from the stage. And so that stuff that I'm sharing from the stage is because I learned it from someone who I think everybody should emulate, or someone who's successful, or I talk to over a drink or through that thing. And then knowing about how your business works is important. The sad reality is it's only been because of the drama lately within AR that most people even know who those volunteer leaders are. And they don't know who their local board is. They don't know the talent on there. They don't know what resources are there. And your local association is going to have meetings, and they're going to have opportunities to learn and get together. And that may be some of the best ideas and relationships you're going to build by doing it to some extent. And I just want to be real clear. Volunteering with your association is not a full-time activity. You're not going to build a good business. But spending a little bit time each month with other real estate agents, let you know you're not crazy. Everybody's going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone. Everybody's going through the same thing. And you get to know them. So if you and I are going to do a transaction and I know who you are and I like you, it makes it easier to overcome than if we've never met and you've got demanding clients and I go, well, I wonder if that's the agent or if it's them. If I know you personally, it's going to be an easier relationship, and we are more bound to build trust more quickly and work better together.
Yeah. I mean, that's something we do definitely, especially during 21, when you still have multiple offers now, but not the 20 and 30, where I had one agent, so she had 69 offers on this one home, literally within a day, during, 21 period where that was going on. And some people think, hey, if rates drop, we got so many people sitting on the sideline saying, hey, when rates drop, I'll buy a home. Yeah. Well, the inventory is not going up very quickly, so we could have multiple offers this summer. That's what some people are predicting. But we definitely were talking about get out and meet some of these other agents. So when you have that offer, you're looking at it going, oh, I know Sally. She's got her stuff in a pile. If she says her buyer's qualified and ready to go, I know she does things correctly. And then obviously, like I said, in negotiations, it just makes things so much easier to be able to pick up the phone and get real with that person because you've maybe broke bread with them at one time. What message does Matthew want to get across this Friday at RE Bar Camp?
Real quick, before we move that, just real quick,
okay.
Even for loan officers, like the loan officer I've recommended for years and years and years, started with us meeting socially actually it was a church event. And I was like, okay, of all the loan officers I have, at the time I had some trust broken by the one I was generally recommending, or the three I was generally recommended. 15 years later, he's still the guy because I know his heart is for those clients. And he will turn down business if it's not good for them. And he will never lie to me. And it is always going to be what's best for the client, even if I don't want to hear it. That's who I found through a social activity that I probably never would have found through just emails and business cards and things. What message do I want to get away across Friday? First of all, this can be fun. We don't focus on how much fun we could have in this industry. And that technology should be an asset to you, not a burden, and it should not be a crutch. It's just an extra thing to help you get done. And if we humanize this process, it makes it all worth it. The learning the skill sets, whether it's AI or social media marketing or Canva or whatever it is, if I start with my humanity and my creativity and then add the tool, I get much further along in my career than anywhere else. So have fun, be human, and be creative.
Matthew, I look forward to meeting you on Friday.
Yeah, me too. I'll see you there.
Definitely. I appreciate your time today. And hopefully everyone listening in learned a little bit about you. And, it's just Matthew Rathbun everywhere, right? On whether it's your website, your social media, that's there. Just look up Matthew and you will dig into his stuff. Like I said, I love his YouTube page. If every agent had a YouTube page like that, it would, I think and I wouldn't even take it from real estate agents. I want to duplicate obviously my YouTube page is taken up with the podcast, but I need to do my loan officer page on with those informative less than 5-minute videos of every bit of the process. Even, hey, how do you select a real estate agent? Because obviously all you guys have, how do you select a loan officer, right? So how do you select a real estate agent, and have those little bits and become a resource in there. So I think that's a great example. So everyone should go to your YouTube page and check that out and subscribe. So I'll see you on Friday.
All right. See you Friday.
Thanks
Bye.
again.